I think we're live.
We look to be live.
Awesome. All right. So good evening, everyone. This is H&N, the Holotable News Network. As you're not even remotely close to around-the-clock Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, news, reactions, reviews, theory crafting, and more source. I am Celiac Sarah, one of your co-hosts, and I am joined, as usual, by my co-host, Pico Burrito. Pico?
We have news.
Oh,
we
man.
have analysis. We have a road ahead.
I am
We have something to talk about tonight.
I am so happy. Okay, so yeah, so we have like two headlines, give or take.
Yeah.
But before we dive in, I actually wanted to share personal news, which you know and a few people know, but nothing bad. No one panic. So, on a personal note, just so everyone knows, to be totally transparent, I am 5.5 months pregnant. So,
Congratulations.
thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Super exciting. But if I go radio silent for a little bit, like come mid-March, that is why. And if I have to leave, it's because my bladder is literally the size of a pea right now. So
that is so exciting. I think I know my biggest question I have on this is because again I know how much of a Harry Potter fan you are.
Yes.
I mean, is this Harry Potter or is this Luke Skywalker? I mean that's the because you have to make a choice right now and you're stuck with this for the rest of your life.
I know. And my husband is super Harry Potter. So this is going to be interesting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. At least the two of you are in agreement for that. It's always fun when both of the parents have differing views on the important topics like where does nerddom sit,
right?
And the pull in two directions. So I'm excited for you. I'm really excited.
I did suggest, like, I thought Luke was a great name. Didn't really fly. So it's fine.
That's awesome.
Anyway, okay, so that is it for personal news. We can actually talk about Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes now.
Awesome. Again, all this is going to pale in comparison to that, but look, it was a great week. Yeah. I think lots of surprises. We'll get into the road ahead, but I know the big one for me is I think the make good for the Game Freeze was really great.
Yeah. Oh man, I wasn't expecting a make good.
Yeah, I wasn't either, and I've got a friend of mine who I asked to listen to the show a couple of episodes back. He had never played this game before, and he's picked it up since then. And I got a message from him last night. It's like, what the hell is this for? Like, mm-hmm. And again, like if you're not following the game, so it was huge from that side. But the make good was really nice. Mm-hmm. Now, did you get both or just the one?
I got both. I did do the survey.
Okay.
Which, like, I did the survey just because I was so frustrated at that point of it constantly crashing that I was like, I will give you all of the information you possibly need if you can just make this go away. So I was pleasantly surprised with the fact that we did get a make good. So yeah, it was, yeah, I thought it was a fair make good. Like,
I thought so too. Yeah.
I know it cost people a lot of, crystals in terms of GAC and territory battles and everything, territory war, conquest energy, all of this kind of stuff. It's just one of those things that I think is so hard to track and do a proper, like, full-blown make good and actually compensate you for everything that you lost.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, and some of it is how do you know that someone lost because of GAC because of that timeout and all those other pieces. And mm-hmm. I was one of the people that did try to sneak in after they made the announcement and fill out a survey. And I'm like, no, I'm not having problems and nothing has changed. I didn't get it. And that's completely fair.
I mean, but the one thing that I did see, and this wasn't really clear because in their post about the make good, I'll just bring it up so people watching on YouTube can see it. They kind of made it look like you would get two, that you would get two sets. Yeah. And if you got both, you actually still only got one inbox message.
Okay.
It's just that everything was doubled. So.
And I think what was interesting about this, because like it's been a long time since we've gotten a really big make good, and it used to be just like 500 crystals, and it was 500 crystals plus, which was really nice. And again, it's it was a handful of Zeta mats, it was a handful of these things, but that stuff all adds up over a period of time. And I mean, it's 5 Zeta mats is a week's worth of Zetas coming out of out of just farming fleet currency and things like that. So yeah, I thought it was pretty good. So
yeah, I mean. And that's the thing, because I was looking at it and I was like, it makes sense to include guild currency. It makes sense to include the get currency, these shards that you could have lost. Like, all these things are smart. So I thought it was pretty decent. I am finding it very humorous though, because the next time they put out a survey, everyone's going to rush to do it.
You know what? But if that's what it takes to get answers, it's probably worth it in the long run, especially if they put another survey out trying to get an understanding of kind of what people want out of the game. Because we get those every once in a while, just like direction of the game. Are you happy with it? Well, I'm more likely to fill that out and provide details, from that standpoint. It's when I do some of my speaking engagements, history has shown you typically only get comments from people who aren't happy.
Yes.
So people that are filling out surveys typically have negative things to say. Well, now maybe I can start pulling in some positive things to get a true sense of changes that I've made, whether they've had a positive impact or is it just negative from that side, if we can get that in. So CG, more rewards for surveys. I'm happy to fill them out. So.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember when I was working in university, I was working in a retail store that it was a telecommunications company, so basically like the equivalent of like AT&T or Verizon in the States. And I remember like one of the first things I was told was if you treat someone poorly and they get some bad customer service from you, they're going to tell 10 people, and if you rock their world, they're going to tell one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So same idea here for CG. Like, you can see why hostility breeds so quickly in this environment. Like, but this was good. I liked it, so I'm happy about it.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we want to get into it?
We should. All right. Before we get into it, first impression, what was the biggest thing for you reading the road ahead? Like, what was the thing that you're just like me, like, that's what I'm excited about?
I mean, I feel so biased because I wanted the road ahead because I knew the road ahead would have territory battle stuff in it. So
that's, yep.
So I feel like that's what I was like, all I could focus on.
Okay.
And I still feel like that's the biggest piece of news out of it. But I'm so biased.
I think it's the gear. I think it's the gear announcement. And look, I am the least impacted by this announcement.
Right.
But
you are.
But it and again, it's for all of the, I'll say, ill will around communication around the phase 1 gear releases, and it's the time that it took to get there. I'm appreciative of the fact that they still identified it was a problem, and they came very, very strong with the solution to the gear problem, to the gear crunch.
Yeah.
Now we're just pushing the problem further down the road, and I get that, we're still gonna have some, but I was shocked at the level that they put it, but more importantly, that it's coming very, very soon. Like that was the piece that kind of blew my mind.
I was very happy that they said when it's coming.
Yes.
That is huge. Like, just being that clear cut and communicating that is great for the player base, because there's no questions about it. We're not confused. Like, it's very obvious when it's happening. So yeah. That, I think that's how they should do it moving forward. Just say, like, this is the goal, even if you don't have it set in stone. This is the goal of when you should have it. And if it changes, just let us know. I think that level of transparency is great.
So where do you want to start? You want to start with just go top to bottom, which puts us at, I mean, let's be honest, it's territory battles. I mean,
it does. It does put us at territory battles. I mean, yeah, because we've got like the anniversary gift is pretty much what you expected that we're gonna get at some point. Did they say when this is gonna hit our inbox?
It didn't, but the double drops start the 24th. So my guess would be, which is Thursday. So my guess would be we get a patch on Wednesday of next week that will include the anniversary gift in it. Or maybe even Tuesday, because no one likes to patch right before a holiday, and then it kind of rolls into the longer holiday weekend.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I mean, while we're on that note, we should just like PSA in case nobody read that. You're going to have double drops from the 24th to the 28th on all of your battles.
Yes.
So.
And the other, and I think they said expect a deal on crystals, but just to be clear what that is typically there's a Black Friday crystal sale.
Right.
That is 20% bonus on the crystals. What will be interesting is how they handle that with the store this year. Are they going to try and direct people to the store from that? So if you're looking at maybe picking up some crystals so you can maximize your double drop time, just keep in mind, like, hold off until we actually see where some of those announcements are. You'll get plenty of time to kind of burn through them from that side. So
yeah, exactly. Okay, so then we have like the anniversary gift, which is the same.
Yep.
One Omicron ability, Matt.
Yeah, that seemed a little funny, but I think that's all that we got last year as well. I think we did get like one Omicron mat.
I think so.
And I think I think people were a little frustrated that they didn't get a whole Omicron, but I mean, at the kickoff of that, it was probably a little early. So
yeah, which I mean, whatever, it's fine. It's better than 0 Omicron mats, so I'll take it.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so we get into territory battles. That's the
Let's
first
get into
bit. Okay, so I still have so many questions, but we know that the time period, like they said earlier, is Empire between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope.
Yep.
And we know that the zones could theoretically change. And what I like is that they actually called them bonus zones. Which makes me think that they're not going to pull away from the map. We'll just be able to open up these, I don't know.
So it's interesting. If you look at the image that they have, they've got this kind of grid system with the lines showing, the dark, the middle, or the neutral and the light. And to your point, I wonder if the way they're not going to handle that is, so it's a star path through planets. Are the bonus paths going to be kind of broken off? Right. And those grids that are right there, that's where they plug the bonus stuff in.
Well, if you remember from I think it was the State of the Galaxy in July when they had that video released along with it, they showed the map and it looked similar to this, but in some of the zones you could see the planets kind of went to dead ends.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's what it's going to be.
Yeah. Now I didn't think about this till earlier in the way that I was looking at it. The way the map's laid out, I was viewing it as only 3 battles per phase. But my guess would be that when you go into the planets, you probably will have more than one battle in the planet. Because it's actually the stars are on the planet, which would align to the same thing as the stars for the actual territory.
Right. And it looks like the territory is going to be a mix of ground and fleet battles.
So I couldn't tell. We're going to talk about the phases or the platoon bonuses coming up, but it's very clear that there are going to be certain places where you're going to get advantages to where ships are going to be. I couldn't, unless I missed it in there. I'm not sure if we're going to have actually both, ships in ships in all 3 in phase 1, or ships in, is it just going to be kind of mix and match where those pieces kind of sit? So.
And that's what I mean. There's just so many other questions I feel like they opened up here. And I think the only real opportunity for the answers is when this goes live next month.
Yeah. And again, which is next month, they're gonna hit it. It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
The other interesting piece that I thought, the one that of all the points on there that stuck out to me, fights are only going to be two waves.
Yeah. It's very interesting.
So are we getting more? Or is it just because let's be honest, territory battles and conquest and GAC at the same time is pretty miserable.
Yes.
So is this part of this a kind of an acknowledgement? Maybe there's too much going on in the game.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking, is it's a time management thing. Plus also we're going back to 24-hour phases.
Yep.
And which makes it a little bit easier in terms of planning, because the phase starts and ends at the same time every single time.
Yeah.
But in terms of, like, I was thinking about, I'm like, 24 hours, like, that's a lot to get done in one day.
Yeah.
Like, I still haven't done any territory battles, and the phase has, like...
Oh, I did one today.
I mean, I know it's dark side, but, like, normally I'm like, there's 36 hours. I can do it before it's ending. So this is going to be very interesting to go back to that, thought process. Okay, so... this is the other interesting thing that I thought was great that they said this, because a lot of us were speculating on this, and they confirmed. There are no dark side or light side restrictions, which means that if we want to, we can do this twice a month.
Yes.
Which a lot of people were speculating on. Are we only going to do it once? Is it going to break the game mode? So just to answer, I just see like a couple of questions. So DCB fans said, is this new TB going to run in between the others? No. So you have a selection. So similar to now how you can choose between Hoth and Geo, you'll be able to choose Hoth, Geo, Empire, TB.
And I think what they said was it's really intended for guilds that are at like 20 stars light side, 31 stars dark side.
Correct. Correct.
Which... I don't remember if that seems like a big gap between light side and dark side on the star part, but I don't remember where we were kind of in that mix, to maxing it out at that point.
You know what? I'm gonna check while we look at this. I'm gonna look at my tracker sheet for our guild, at least, because I tracked how many stars we got based off the GP we were at the time. And that will tell us. So they said 20 stars for light side, correct?
Yeah, 20 stars for light side.
So the first time ODB hit 20 stars was December 2020. We were 304 million GP.
Okay.
And we hit 20 stars. So December 2020. So if you did Dark Side TB December 2020, we didn't even do it. I don't have it in my tracker sheet because we did Hoth. We went on Hoth for Christmas. So January, let's call it. Or sorry, no, I can't read dates. December 3rd, 2020. We did do it. We got 31 stars dark. So you're gonna want to be right there. Yeah. You're gonna want to be around 300 million GP, give or take. That's where we were personally, and we've been really good about maximizing our potential. So yeah.
Well, and again, I didn't actually share this with anybody because it's one of those, like, I didn't want to speak it into the world and then have it become true. I was so worried that we were going to end up with, you're going to be able to run it twice a month, but you had to pick a path.
Yes.
At that time, I'm glad to see that we have all paths. So again, we're not going to be a situation of someone feeling left out because the way that I want to go doesn't match up with where we're at. That middle path gets super interesting because, like, and we're gonna talk about the platoon stuff, but there's at least one ship battle in the mixed zone where things like Executor is actually going to work the way that the Executor should,
right?
Because there's a light side ship that's associated.
That's a really great point. I didn't even think of ships, but that's a great point.
Yeah. or like Starkiller actually gets to build his 5-person squad the way that he's supposed to.
Right.
There's going to be some great teams. They're going to kind of fit in that manner. So
it's gonna be fun. Okay, they did tell us who the hero characters are.
They did,
which is super interesting. Jin for light side, Jin, K2, Old Ben, and Bodhi.
Bodhi Rook.
I don't know what it was. I didn't really. I mean, it makes sense that you have Rogue One characters, but I didn't really think about Rogue One characters being the ones. I'm surprised Cassian isn't on this list since he does have a territory battle Omicron, but I wonder if that's why he's not on the list.
That's an interesting point. You got to expect Bodhi's going to get an Omicron, don't you?
Oh man, I feel like Bodhi is he's been like left out to die for so long that now he's like, what do you mean I'm a hero? Like
we were joking in Discord today that I don't know if anyone remembers, and I don't mean, and I don't remember the person's name, and I'm not saying this picking on him because it was phenomenal videos, but when the Rebel Fighters team came out, there was a young guy who put out two 45-minute long videos that were statistical analysis of why Bodhi was the best character to put on that team. And they went into and they were so well done, but it was like 45 minutes of just Bodhi talk. And it ended up being like 90 minutes total. Like that guy is probably sitting there like, no, this is my time to shine. Like my Bodhi is ready. He's set. This is going to happen at this point. So,
I mean, this is also a really great point. I didn't even clue into this until Obito said this in chat, and I remember them saying this in State of the Galaxy. They kind of name dropped Phoenix a little bit.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, "Oh, Phoenix are going to be important," but they're also not heroes either. It's all, I mean, other than Old Ben, it's all old Rogue One. I keep calling them Old One. It's not Old.
They have been around for a long time. So the ability they're going to get is the bonus characters will get 50% potency and deal additional damage equal to 35% of the potency, which could be pretty impressive. Whenever a buff expires, all allies gain 2% offense stacking, max 100% for the rest of the battle.
Which is really great phrasing, not encounter, battle.
Yes.
So it'll carry over between those two waves.
So again, I know that Cassian's got his Zeta gives potency up at the start of each phase, 20%. So right off the bat, that should be an additional 20% bonus offense, which is pretty great.
Yeah.
And I don't remember if Jin or K2SO has it in their kit. Of course, Old Ben is going to give potency up with his mind tricks, I think is which one of his abilities gives it up. And if he dies, frankly, you're going to get there as well. And again, Bodhi does things. And if anyone is going to tell us what Bodhi does, I'm going to call them a dirty liar and they pulled it off SWGH.GG because no one knows what he does.
Yeah. So. No one does. Nobody's paid attention to him. Oh man. Okay, so then mixed side, you've got Jabba, which I think we all saw coming, Hondo, Dr. Aphra, Kira, and Ahsoka Tano Fulcrum. Which, by the way, that is an edit because when I first read this, when it first dropped, it just said Ahsoka Tano.
Okay.
Definitely did not say Fulcrum. And I wish I had a screenshot of it, but whatever. But it makes sense that it's Fulcrum.
So, all right, let's do a plug really quick. Create Expectations.
Yeah.
Earlier this week.
Yes.
You had a conversation about a pivot.
Oh man, I don't know what to do. I'm basically okay. So we had this conversation because of specifically about Smuggler's Run 2 and the rewards you can get through that are really great for your mod depth. And I have been working towards Lord Vader. And I say working towards loosely. I have started the journey guide activation. But what I've actually been doing is hoarding all of my gear for the Grand Inquisitor event so that I could take him to gear 13 right away. So I haven't actually put any gear on the Lord Vader Rex. Anyone who was required for him that needed like an extra relic level or 2, I added, but I didn't actually give them any gear yet. So as of yesterday, I have all of the gear hoarded for Inquisitor. Okay. So I can now start looking for gear. I'm basically dead even on my Lord Vader and Jabba check marks. I'm a little bit ahead in terms of characters that are fully completed on the Jabba side, but I have Leia and Lando to farm.
Yeah.
Chrysanthemum is done because I got impatient and spent 4,000.
I saw that today.
Yeah, I was like, 4,000 crystals, give me 50 shards. Thank you very much. Because I need the signal data. Like, I can't do these Cantina farms. So, based off the Smuggler's run, I was like, do I pivot? And now I'm like looking at territory battles. I'm like, do I pivot? Because again, I haven't actually dropped any gear onto the requirements for either of them.
So
do I pivot?
Let's talk about back alley deals. And then I think it becomes a no-brainer.
Oh man.
So back alley deals, back alley, not ally, back alley deals. Whenever this character calls other allies to assist, they gain 20% turn meter, and the assisting allies deal 20% more damage. Mm-hmm. Whenever this character attacks out of turn, attack again. Jabba's basic calls Hutt Cartel allies to assist.
So he's going to call everyone.
Yes. And again, Leia and Boosh and Skando hit like trucks.
Right.
They're going to be great on that side. I think just again, it's easy to get excited about these right now, but I just think that ability seems to be built around Jabba.
Oh yeah.
And it's it's back to that old mentality of one more wave. Well, if you can get a team that's guaranteed to go 4 for 4.
Yes.
Or I guess 2 for 2, whatever we're going to be at this point. I just think that makes a ton of sense from the inside.
Yeah, and I'm like, because I haven't actually invested yet gear wise, I'm like, do I just do it? I just feel a little bit bad because I keep pushing Lord Vader off, and I'm like, well. And so to be clear as well, if you're looking at this from a Grand Arena perspective, the only Galactic Legends I don't have are Lord Vader and Jabba. Nobody around me, because I'm in like the Cape. I'm in Kyber too. No one around me has Jabba. Okay. People have Lord Vader, but nobody has Jabba. So would that also be an advantage for me?
Yep.
Because I would be the only one theoretically.
And I think that so the two pieces to this are, and this is probably save this maybe for some gear talk, but with all the characters for Jabba outside of the 2 that you need to farm are accelerated.
Right.
You have all the characters for Vader, and if we're going to start getting this massive influx of gear, is your Vader farm going to be accelerated just because, or whichever one you do second, is it going to be accelerated just because gear is going to be the sticking point on that for a period of time. So I just you add in that with the Smugglers run too. I think it's a great idea. But
and like normally I'm like, don't pivot, like stay on what you're doing. Yeah. So I feel a little bit hypocritical being like, I'm probably going to pivot. But it might happen.
Okay. So, but the other character in that kit, Hondo's there, Dr. Aphra, Kira, Ahsoka Fulcrum. The interesting piece on Ahsoka Fulcrum, I think, is she is unaligned Force user.
Yes.
Light side, which means she can slot onto a Starkiller team, which now gets the full Starkiller bonuses. And the question is can she? I guess she can't call him out of Starkiller.
I don't
to assist. She can't. She doesn't have a way to call in the kit. So But it'll be interesting to see where she sits as part of that as well. So,
yeah, that's a
all right.
great point. Okay, so dark side.
Yep.
Oh man. So Grand Inquisitor, shock, guys.
Shocked. I could not believe it.
Yep. Second sister, third sister, which is funny because we don't even have her yet. Lord Vader, Director Krennic, and Gar Saxon. Prime Force is gonna be so happy about Gar Saxon. Oh.
So we'll talk about Reva in a minute, but this now gives us 2 leaders for Inquisitor teams, because I guess they're all leaders, I guess, technically.
Right.
But this would give us an option to, in theory, we could split them if we could build another team. And I think, again, there's a rumor of another character out of that kind of part of the universe coming as well. So we'll see what that looks like.
Right.
But so from an ability standpoint, this is whenever this character uses an ability on their turn, they recover 5% health and protection and deal bonus damage equal to 2% of this character's max health to all enemies.
Which is
so
stupid.
Now I know we just said maybe it's time to pivot, but Lord Vader and his 7 million hit points hitting the entire team for 2% of that value is probably going to be pretty nasty on that side.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I mean, the Inquisitors are some of the fastest characters in game.
Yes.
So they're going to be taking a lot of I mean, granted, territory battle enemies are always fast, but they are going to be taking a lot of turns. So that's going to be interesting. So
Krennic has an omicron, but it's GAC, correct?
Yeah, I believe so. I believe it's GAC.
So are we a Gar Saxon omicron away from just insanity?
Oh my goodness. That would be oh man. So this is an interesting line right below it. These are still in balance testing and are subject to change. Other units may be added to these lists prior to release or in the future. And the reason why I find this interesting is because dark side, we have Lord Vader, a GL.
Yep.
Mixed, we have Jabba, a GL. And light side, we don't have a GL.
I did not pick that up. That's very interesting.
There's no GL there.
It's almost as if there's a light side galactic legend that might come in that is based around the Rebel time frame. What could that be?
Right? What could possibly happen here? But yeah, I thought that was a very interesting thing. Plus, you've got 4 characters on light side, and the other ones have 5. Actually, dark side has 6.
Yeah.
But yeah, very interesting though. No light side.
Yep.
I mean, I don't think Luke or Rey don't really fit in with this timeline, but
no.
Kenobi does.
I mean, he literally ended the Clone War.
Right? He fits in timeline.
Yeah.
I'm real bad at timelines in the Star Wars universe, but he's roughly around this time.
He is, but I think, although he didn't get anything tagged for the last territory battle, he was not.
No.
Commander Tano did, but he didn't.
Mm-hmm.
I think the setup here is the April time frame for whatever. I'm guessing that's Pico speculation. I'm not an oracle by any means whatsoever. I think that coming out of the next one, I think that's probably the next galactic legend that's aligned with that time frame. So, what I wonder is, if you look at historically what we've gotten out of the other territory battles, it's not only a character that drops in the missions, so the Watt and the Reva and Cam, there's a character that's needed to do something going in.
Yeah, so we got for Geo, we got Geo Brood Alpha and Arc Trooper.
Correct. Yep. And in Hoth we got Captain Han, and we got
Stark.
Yep. That was so on that side. So are we going to get a character there? And then the other is we also got get characters that we bought with get rewards coming out of that. So are we going to end up in this scenario? Like, are we expected to see at minimum 3 more characters on top of Reva in this that are going to slot into these different pieces?
Right.
So we're playing. So
I almost feel like we're going to see Watt and Cam move to the get stores.
Yep.
I think the writing is kind of on the wall for that.
Yeah. I also wonder if we're not going to get like maybe Bounty Hunters 3. Because IPD, at least IPD and Rolo and Wamp are there, I think, if I remember correctly.
Yes, that's true.
I've looked at those. So I wonder if maybe we're going to get Bounty Hunters 3, and it's going to be, tuned for the Hutt Cartel type characters.
And you can get Cam.
Yep.
And Watt, etc. Yeah, good point. Okay. And then they pretty much tell you what to work on right here. Again, like Jabba Inquisitors, Scythe, Doc Aphra.
Yep, absolutely. And they said in there as well is we're going to get 3 currency. Again, I don't think that was a surprise to anyone. They'll give you a little bit of get 2, but get 1 is essentially if you are a new territory battle guild, get 1 goes away for you is basically what it comes down to.
Right. You're just going to be getting it in, I guess, raids.
Yep.
Do we get it in Territory Wars?
I think we get a little bit.
It tells you how often I look at those rewards. Yeah. I just hit collect.
I am slightly bummed by that because that was a good source of left-hand side gear 12.
It was.
And that's a lot of relic material at the later stages. So
it really was a good source of that. So that's going to hurt a little bit. Okay. So yeah, we've got the map shown, the planets like we talked about a little bit, 2 encounters each. Man, I can't. And then they say they will utilize new and existing planet modifiers akin to those in Conquest and Galactic Challenges. How do we feel?
I prefer Galactic Conquest modifiers more than we made the tenacity 7,000%
right
on these characters, so debuffs just don't land.
Right. Yeah. And I mean the good thing is it sounds like the modifiers are going to stay locked to those planets.
Yeah.
So theoretically we'll be able to plan accordingly.
Yeah. And that's I think that's a great point because look, I'm trying not to think about what teams I'm going to use in these cases because again we haven't even talked about platoons yet. And,
I know.
And platoons break all of these thoughts, but to your point, if I know what I have to build it around, it's like I hate the Night Sister Galactic Challenge bonus where they all come back to life. But if I know that I just need to be able to bring something in with massive AE damage, I can at least start to try and build a team around that concept.
Right, to kill them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it changes every 2 weeks, man, that's a nightmare. It's
going to be so hard to plan effectively.
Yeah.
And this is really going to make it even more important to like you and I have talked about this, like tracking our waves and tracking our teams that we use. Like tracking now is going to be even more important, I think.
Yeah. Man, something on the to-do list. Maybe we need to find someone who's got a little bit of knowledge around just some basic website management so we can start publishing that stuff on a monthly basis.
Yeah, that's a good...
That'd be interesting to be able to share with people. But
yeah, that's a good thought.
I'm not writing it down, so that means I'll forget it tomorrow. So someone's gonna have to remind us.
Yeah, I forget everything now. I'm in that full phase of it's gone in 2 minutes. So if I told you I was going to do something and I didn't do it, please remind me.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so this is going to be interesting. I mean,
Yeah.
We're going to have platoons still. Platoons are going to affect platoons. This is also the thing is we haven't had a new territory battle in 2.5 years.
Yeah.
Give or take. And I think a lot of us have gotten used to no Mon Mothma in platoons, no GLs, no Jedi Knight Luke in platoon. Like all of these things that we've all kind of been like, oh yeah, we can use this every time because they're not in platoons. And now we're going to start from scratch.
Do you think we're going to see Galactic Legends in platoons?
I really hope we don't, but I would not. I would not be surprised if we see like Rey, C, like ones that aren't necessarily in this time era.
Yeah, I was thinking about this today because it's not that it's a great character to put in platoons, but that's an expensive character for someone like, it was, if you think back to like the original territory battles, like someone was going to take one for the team and they took Cup up to 7 stars just so you could actually get them in the last phase. Mm-hmm. That's a really expensive thing to do for Galactic Legend. But the reality is if you're at 20 and 31 stars at that point, you should have enough of the Galactic Legends.
Right.
Even if it's Vader and Kenobi that you have to stick in those, you should have enough of them that it's going to go through. But to your point, it's just not going to be, GL and Prey to get through waves when this comes out. We're gonna have to build teams again.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I mean, this is going to be for those who weren't around for the start of Lightside Geo or didn't do Lightside Geo because of the guild they were in and they were still doing Hoth. Lightside Geo hit like a brick wall.
Yeah.
All of us were like, whoa, this is really difficult. People thought it was overtuned. So it's going to be...
I think also that it was... I think the other thing we can count on is everything that worked in Hoth when we went over to the next territory battles. None of that worked again. Like I remember in Hoth, I ran a first order team because they weren't needed in platoons and they did really, really well. Then you get over to the other side and like, oh no, like this team that's kind of not very fast and is designed to be tanky when they hit like a brick doesn't work here anymore. So all of a sudden that team just immediately kind of fell off. So I had to go build something else. So, I think the expectation should be you might have one good team and then we're going to have to build everything else.
Yeah.
It's a 2-year path to get to where we're going.
Yeah. Matt had a really good point in chat. Even if they don't put GLs there, conquest tunes like Cat, Maul.
Yeah. Like,
those are for sure going in.
I'd almost argue that Cat and Maul are more painful to put in there than the GLs because of how hard it is to get them if you didn't do it in Conquest.
Mm-hmm. It's also more painful because, okay, say you put Cat there. What do you do with JMK now?
Yeah. Yep. Watch. We're talking about how you can actually use Razor Crest with Executor in a fight. Then it turns out you need like 20 of them platooned. On that play, so you can't use them.
Yeah, I know. I was just thinking that. So this also though brings in an interesting point too, because this week right now for a lot of guilds is like I joke about it when I post our orders for Darkside Territory, but I'm like it's vacation week, like there's nothing really going on.
Yeah.
There's no conquest. There's only Grand Arena. A lot of us autopilot Darkside Territory battle. We're not going to be able to do that anymore.
Nope. But also at the same time, though, it's not waiting a month in between phases to see what works. Like it's
yes.
You're not forgetting everything that you picked up. It's 2 weeks. It's a week in, a week to regroup, a week in, a week to regroup. I like that cadence, and it's and hopefully that means we get to unlock some of these characters faster.
Yes, absolutely. That would be great.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we want to look at the Platoon bonuses before we get into Third Sister?
Yeah, let's kind of pull through some of them, and I think that they're published. I think we probably need to say that we always tend to find mistakes in these, and I think the one we found first off was there is no phase 6.
Yes.
And so
we can only see the first 5 phases of Platoons.
And we have no idea what those characters are required for this.
Yeah.
Hopefully we get those in the next 2 weeks.
And hopefully they're static the same way Platoons have been currently. Like,
Yep.
Not revolving Platoons would be lovely for planning.
Yeah. So I think the first thing that stuck out when I looked through this is I thought I was going to accuse CG of typos, because if we look at, like, say, phase 1 and mixed, the level 1 Platoon is actually level 3, and then it goes backwards. But I think what this is closer to what we had in Darkside Hoth,
right,
where you weren't gaining abilities, you were weakening the enemy that was going there. So
yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah, and this would be for ships. Like, if you read it, it's all enemy ships have 15% max health speed at the start of the battle. Cooldown of call reinforcement is reduced by 1. But then at level 2, you take away the 15% max health, and at level 1, or fully maxing out the platoon, you take out the 15% speed. So all that it is at the start of the battle, their call reinforcement is reduced by 1. That's where that ability lands. So, but there's some interesting. There are a couple of these that are interesting in here. I think that Jedi one on the light side it looks pretty interesting. The Jedi get more tenacity, and then I think it's like a 60% chance to get foresight at the start of their turn, which that's a huge survivability piece.
Yeah, and then you just keep adding tenacity, and then you add protection, recovery, and crit avoidance. Like, there's just a whole bunch of good stuff that you kind of want in there for.
Dark Side phase 1, I think that's the return of the orbital bombardment from Hoth. I think that's what that is.
Yeah.
Which was always a really fun ability to use. If you have a character with high offense, or so in that case, to kind of get up to wipe the screen from that side. What else do we have on here?
There's phase 2. We get to summon in Dark Side. We get to summon that BX commander droid, which is interesting.
So that's a new droid, though, isn't it? Because it's the same BX series all the way through. So I think this is going to be a new droid that we get to use in that case.
Yeah, because in Dark Side we're summoning a B2 battle,
correct,
like rocket droid or whatever.
But if you were at rank 1, you actually got like the B1 commando, I think.
Right.
Or the B1 commander, excuse me, which we never got because we always that was one that we always filled up. And the other big one on phase 2 is the Prophet mechanic that is on Hondo is there, which I wonder if Hondo's going to get a special mission because of that.
I mean, when they said which teams and characters to work on, they said that they would be required for missions.
Yeah.
So you're going to have like a Jabba mission, so Hondo's probably going to be there. Or not Hondo, sorry, but you're going to have these. Where was it? I just want to double check what they actually said. Jabba, Inquisitors, Scythe, and Dr. Aphra. So maybe he goes with Doc Aphra.
Yeah.
As they will be required for certain missions. So,
I mean, that level 3 that gets you 40% of the way of Hondo not running away like a coward.
Right.
That's the. I've been trying to use Hondo on the Smuggler's Run 1, and he never gets out of the first wave because I'll put that ability on, and because there's no chance of it ever getting 10 stacks. He immediately just exits at the end of the first wave because he didn't get enough profit out of it, and he leaves.
So he's just like, see ya. Goodbye.
He's just, I'm out. This is dumb.
Oh man. Yeah. This is going to be very interesting. What I actually like too is it looks like even though we will have multiple combats in each path, so like you're gonna have ships and ground at the same time, it looks like the platoons are only affecting one aspect of it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Phase 3 looks like they took the easy way out and they just gave us the light side ship bonuses from the platoon. So they did that for both light and dark. So I would expect that to be a very heavy ship focused phase.
yeah, it's gonna be
So
interesting.
phase 3 mixed was the one that I was really disappointed in because the way I read it was every time someone died, you got to add a pirate to your team. So I'm picturing like Hondo and the pirates.
Yeah.
And as they died, you got more pirates. And I think it's the other way around. I think this is going to be miserable if you can't fill this platoon because it's at the start of the encounter, they get a random pirate. And then as you kill the targets, another pirate steps into their place.
Right. So you're just going to be forever killing.
Yeah. So it looks like they start to remove some of those pieces out. So
yeah, you're gonna want to fill that one for sure.
Yeah.
Like definitely try to, because that is going to be, if you're at all concerned about like time management in game, like that's just gonna draw out the battle for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of this is just so.
Phase 4 light side allies having the ability to daze on an attack each turn. That's pretty nice.
And then gaining advantage and
Yep.
calling a random ally to assist. Like there's just going to be a lot of fun. I mean, this is the thing is I actually, like, I know platoons are annoying and nobody wants to like break their roster up and do it, but they really do add an advantage.
Yeah.
And it's going to be such a pain. It's going to hurt. Like this is going to be fun, but we might cry a little bit.
Yeah, it's there'll be tears of semi happiness. I guess we'll. And then it looks like so the dark side, that morale bonus, which I think the morale bonus is the one that they have in assault battles. It's like the little green plus sign looking thing that you have to take out like the lead Jedi. Then it demoralizes everyone. I think that's what that looks like, but I'm not sure.
The phase 5 one, it looks like you're gonna want to also fill for light side, because at the start of the encounter, stun all enemies for 1 turn and inflict defense down, offense down, stagger, and tenacity down for 2 turns, which can't be resisted. Like that, you just aren't gonna go before they kill you.
And what's crazy is even if you fill the platoon, one random person on your team is going to get stunned to start the encounter.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just a roll of the dice.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's nice that they remove stagger, but yeah, if you have like the wrong character stunned at the start.
Yeah, like think about it's a Bad Batch team and your whole thing is it's based off of Echo has to go, Echo has to get that first turn off.
Right.
And he gets stunned.
Right.
Well, I guess I went over 2.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it really makes you think about, you need to have 2 characters on the team that if one gets stunned, the other one can kind of pull the team forward and all of that, because that's not going to be good. So I think it's going to be really important, especially once we know what the finalized version of this is, to like look at them and especially if you're kind of in that zone where, I mean, we're all going to be in this zone where we don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
And, we don't know what the best path is to take. We don't know how far we're going to get, like all of this stuff. We don't know what to expect yet. You're going to really have to try and plan what your priority is in terms of filling these platoons.
I'm really, really interested in the platoon characters to find out who CG really feels are the important characters to get off of people's rosters.
Right.
It was Shakti and Hermit Yoda were the two big ones in the last territory battle. That because it just seemed like every phase they were trying to pull them out, and it turned out that they were great characters to have.
Right.
From that side. So it'll be interesting to kind of see where a lot of that shakes out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's going to be fun. But it's definitely going to be one of those things that we have to remember what it was like when we did Lightside Geo and what that felt like.
Yeah.
And it'll be fine.
Platoon early and often. That's the only thing I can say, because it's 24-hour window. So let's not be having to ping people at work on a Tuesday because we need to get combat missions in because we didn't get platoons filled until the last minute. So
right, exactly. We need to have these filled as quickly as possible. Okay. Do we want to talk about Third Sister?
Yes, I'm excited for Third Sister.
Right? This is
a whole thing.
Oh man.
So this is like a mini kit reveal, like a high level view of what she's going to be built off.
Mm-hmm.
I think the first thing that came up, and I think everyone kind of expected this to be the case, she will have a Grand Arena Omicron to help raise their ability in that game mode, which
right.
I would argue right now they're a better Grand Arena team than they are in Territory Wars, even though they've got all these Territory War Omicrons.
Well, I actually kind of mentioned this briefly to Xerath. I was like, I don't even have a Grand Inquisitor, and I've been using my Inquisitors in Grand Arena, and they're not optimized. I'm not going in against like gas or anything like that, but I mean, they seem to work fine.
I think that because in Territory Wars, the number of teams you use is so much smaller, even though it's a whole guild.
Yeah.
That the number of teams that they do well against are pretty small. Where in Grand Arena, there's a number of teams that they beat even without all the Omicrons. So they're just a super flexible team, whether it's defense or on offense from that side. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with her Omicron on that side. But there's, I guess the way they're describing her is there is no concept of waiting to start causing havoc. She comes out swinging, and she comes out swinging hard.
Right, which is how she was introduced to us.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. So she will have a leadership. She'll have a Zeta.
Mm-hmm.
And that leadership with a Zeta will start with all enemies will start with 5 stacks of Purge.
Yeah.
And then with the Grand Inquisitor, that makes them 6 stacks or capped across the board on all of those characters. So, by the way, all of those Purge feats in Conquest, there would be so much easier with this character.
Oh yeah, you're just gonna, and it just says all enemies. Like she doesn't care if it's Jedi or what.
Yep.
At least so how they phrased it. I do find it interesting that they said teamed with Grand Inquisitors, and it's her leadership ability. So you're going to theoretically run him under her leadership.
Yeah. Which again, she was vying for leadership the entire time on the show. So it kind of makes sense from that side.
Right.
And then we see the return of hatred from Darth Sion. Mm-hmm. So the first time that she's defeated, she's revived and given hatred, and then she can be defeated again, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, it allows her to revive a second time in the battle. So you got to kill her 3 times.
Right. Yeah. So she doesn't have this before you kill her. She dies, has hatred, and then you kill her again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good luck.
And then man, yeah, that's going to be annoying.
And how much you want to bet that she's going to have a part of her kit is going to be when she comes back, she has taunt. So it's not like you can kill her to get taunt off and then go after someone else. You're going to have to deal with this problem some way or another.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting. And I mean, the great thing is because we can run this twice a month, is you can theoretically get these shards twice as fast.
Yep. So at the end of this, we'll have 7 Inquisitors. Mm-hmm. And they've been kind of floating. There's been some rumors around maybe an 8th coming in. Mm-hmm. From another game. I won't share what it is in case people don't want to have it spoiled. But with 8 starts to look like 2 teams.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll be in a scenario that we can actually run a couple teams. And because she is a tank, that's always the thing is like, do I have two good leaderships out of a faction, or do I have two tanks?
Right.
That problem is kind of solved there. So
yeah, it's going to be super interesting. Yeah. Okay, so I think we're winding down on TV because the next thing other than her is that.
So,
sorry.
Well, Savitar asked a great question, and it was, do you think that the planet modifiers will be similar to the Galactic Challenges, or will they be more creative than where they're at? I'll be honest, I think they're going to reuse the existing modifiers. I think is what we'll see in a lot of those cases.
Yeah. I think they'll do that, and then maybe for some of them they'll take existing modifiers and like add a layer or tweak it slightly.
But I think that we'll see them reuse probably quite a bit through this. So
yeah, it seems because that's what they do. Even like we get those modifiers from Galactic Challenges, and then they bring them over to Conquest, right? Like,
yeah.
So that would not surprise me.
Just don't give us the stupid Mandalorian one where if they get like one turn, they get 7,000 stacks of whatever that thing is that makes them terrible to beat. So, yeah.
I mean, yeah, Savitar, he makes a good point. They are adding new planets for TV compared to
good point.
So maybe those are the new ones that only the new planets added will have new.
All right, so I got a question back to Savitar. Why are you asking us a question only to set us up to fail, man? That kind of feels like that seems like gotcha chat monitor, right?
Oh man, he is our. I think we've all dubbed him the new community manager on the.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So the rest of this leads into the gear update.
Yep.
Because they do kind of mention that they talked about the gear as the last bit of phase 1 they didn't actually finish was kind of updating the rewards for guilds in territory battles that weren't getting max stars. So that's gonna happen because we've got this new territory battle rolling out. So they're going to do that, which is great because you're going to be able to get some better rewards if you're doing those other territory battles, which means you'll, level up your rosters quickly, theoretically. And you will, be able to get access to this new TB faster in that way. Sorry, I was laughing at Savitar's comment.
Yeah.
And you are wearing red. But then we get gear update phase 2.
Yes.
So this is cool.
Again, there was a lot of the territory battle stuff that surprised me, and it was welcome surprises. This kind of blew my mind.
I didn't expect this.
I mean, so the headline is they're doubling gear across the game.
Right.
It's only up to it's purple gear, not Kairos, and not used in gear 12 pieces. But if you think about where they do double drops are rewards. They're special events. They're tied to the anniversary. It's a long weekend type thing. It's 3 or 4 times a year. Now they've decided, no. This is just every day.
Right.
It's just every day from this point moving forward.
Right. And I mean, and this is the thing, like getting to that level, getting past these like bumps, like a lot of the gear that I need, I'm like, oh, I need more of these Mark 8 Nubian scanners and the med packs and whatever. So it's a lot of that purple gear that is just annoying.
Yeah. I come January 1st, we are putting an official ban on complaining about Carbantes.
Okay.
then it should go away. Like it should just be gone. And it's not even just rewards, it's doubling the amount of carbonians in a crystal purchase.
Right.
You know, it's the hyperdrive bundle. Mm-hmm. They're just reducing the price by 50% forever, because that's how they're going to double the gear that's in the actual bundle.
Right.
Is by just cutting the price in half, which again, we could talk about fuzzy math on that, but
yeah.
But you know, the idea here is trying to get characters to getting new players caught up, getting the rest of the community caught up, and the new Rubicon is going to be gear 12. Like that, yeah. That's going to be, everyone's going to butt right up against it, which I wonder if we're not going to get the ability to take a character up to 12 before getting to 7 stars, because there's no point in stopping you at 11 now if the gate is going to be gear 12 as it is.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point.
But again, if that's the complaint coming out of this change, man, I'll take that all day long.
Yeah.
So
yeah. This is I'm pleasantly surprised by this. So I mean, they lay out the goals here, and I think it's very obvious, because I've seen a lot of people kind of fixate on, oh, well, this doesn't fix the gear 12 crunch. This doesn't fix getting to relics. Like, yes, I hear that. This isn't really meant for that. This is exactly like what they said. One, it helps everyone get new characters up faster. And two, it helps new players catch up, which is a huge thing. New players need this catch-up mechanic. We need new players not to be exhausted and burnt out and feeling like they will never get to where those end game players are, because then they're not going to keep playing and the game will die. Like, you want these new players to continue playing.
And there are barriers to things. Like, if you want to get people into, you know, if you think about what the cutoff for dark side geo territory battles, it was not relics, it was gear 12.
Right.
So if you want to get people out of Hoth and into GeoTB faster, you've got to get past that gear 11 barrier.
Right.
And you know, so I think it's great from that aspect. Now there's some weird pieces, and I'm not sure I agree with some of the conversation where so because we're getting twice as much gear, they're going to cut the number of salvage you get for that gear in half.
Right.
And I think there's a lot of people panic salvaging their gear right now because there's a conversion piece. I think it'll all kind of even out in the long run.
It's a net zero effect. So the way that I'm looking at it is, right now, if you have 500 pieces of salvage and they are worth, let's just use a 1-to-1 ratio or 1-to-2. You have 500 pieces of salvage and that gets you 1,000 pieces. If you converted all of them, it gets you 1,000 pieces of the relic mat, which I know this is not accurate math. I'm just doing it for clarity's sake. If you don't do it before the changes happen, that 500 pieces that you have now only get you 500.
Yep.
So I can understand why people are doing the panic salvage conversion, which, by the way, we have until the start of the new territory battle to do this. Yeah. That's when this takes effect. But once it does take effect, everything new coming in gear-wise and everything that you convert in the relic scavenger is there's no effect there. It's neutralized.
Yeah.
And that's the big thing that they were saying is, you know, yes, it's doubled in your farming, but it is halved here, but it just balances the scale.
Well, and look, so there's a couple of people in Old Dirty Blasters that have kind of tried to follow along with this, but 2 years ago, I started down this path of I wanted to get everybody to gear 12 because of compounding resources. So the second that everybody's at gear 12, and you're not spending any of the purple gear, it starts to pile up at this massive rate. So that it was like, it wasn't until this like weird character blitz that we had at the end of this year that I ever actually ran into a situation where I had to farm anything.
Mm-hmm.
The faster everyone gets their roster above that gear 11 threshold, all of that gear is going to start piling up so fast just because you're earning it twice as just from passive raids and territory battles and territory wars and all of those other pieces, that you're going to start sitting on so much available for salvage that you're going to look back, 3 months after you get that, you pull this roster up, you're going to look back after 3 months and go like, why was I concerned about this? I'm sitting on more than what I know what to do with that.
Right.
It's I used to be so concerned about droid colors, and now I think I have 2,000 of them, and I salvage them all the time from that side. So I think that the part of why I think that this is happening, even if they're cutting that value in half, that they're accelerating the rosters up. And CG's always said we want broad, deep rosters.
Yeah.
Is that the faster it gets everyone to relics, it lets the rest of kind of that gear thing shake out for the higher end rosters for higher players from that side as well. So
yeah, that's a good point. And Molpokey made a good point, is not to count on it being exactly when TB starts. It's probably going to be an update a few days before. So if new TB starts on December 12th, which is what everyone is kind of projecting, because that's the next dark side, and we have a light side schedule. I mean, we have, and it's technically scheduled for November, not December. So if that's December 12th, that means we get a content update December 7th, because that's the Wednesday beforehand. So I would even give yourself a 2-day buffer from that, and maybe plan, if you're going to turn your salvage to the relic, whatever, scavenger dude, December 5th.
Yep.
That gives you 2.5-ish weeks to get it done.
Yeah.
So you can go through and make sure you're crossing over. And it's only the first three relic salvage materials. So the circuit boards and bronzium wiring, and what's the third one?
Carbonite circuit boards. Is it the circuit boards?
Circuit boards. I'm forgetting one. It's the first
wiring and
It's the first 3 of the relic materials.
The board is the spring, and it's the first one.
Yeah, yeah. It's those 3 that are going to be affected by this.
Yeah. And again, folks, especially as you're pushing into Grand Inquisitor at the end of the month, and there's some interesting stuff that happens at the end of the month, don't go on a salvage spree and then all of a sudden actually kill all of your all of the gear that you are actually going to use to level things up. It's yes, it'll be a double drop, but I think you'll probably want to double kill yourself with that happens, so.
Yeah, you don't want to all of a sudden get a new character. Sana gets released, and then we're like, oh, I'm stuck at gear 3. Like, don't do that. Okay, so all these people are going to catch up. So basically,
Matt had a question in here about, he hasn't seen anyone talk about doubling the weekly challenges, which I assume that those are the gear challenges. They said that they are not going to be doubling those resources because they increased the amount of gear that those dropped as part of the phase 1 requirement. So they're not if this is truly an extension of the existing phase 1 or the phase 1 gear challenge gear changes that they started last year. They feel that I'm interpreting what I read there, but they feel that what's in the gear challenges are adequate for what they provide, and then this is net new on top of that. So they're not going to address anything back. So if you were getting 11 Carbantes as part of that, you're not going to get 22 moving forward.
Right.
It's just going to kind of stay put from that side. So
right. Yeah. So good point. And then they just kind of go into, like, basically it's gear items below gear 12, excluding the Mark 12 Armatech and Zerka items, and Kairos.
But this was, again, I think it was in the HNN we were talking about this today. It surprisingly, I think they've done a good job of putting a decent amount of Kairos into the game and while they're needed on a lot of characters,
Mm-hmm.
I think everyone pretty much has a pretty decent base of a couple hundred of them laying around at any point in time, and they're always available for uh, get to and some of the other some of the other earned currency, as opposed to it's just a crystal side where it's your ability to buy Carbantes or droid collars or those things have always been a struggle, that they're not consistently in the stores, or at least the Cairo stuff is always consistently in the store for non-crystals as well.
Right. Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah, because I remember even when Kairos first came out, I was like, oh, this is going to be super gear crunchy. And while I still feel like I'm like, oh, I need all of the Kairos, it's almost easier for me to get the Kairos than it is to get the other pieces.
Yep.
So
I mean, if you've got some get to, you can almost pull in between 5 or 10 of each every refresh.
Right.
So.
Right. So, yeah, they go over like all of the adjustments, which is just a huge thing. Yeah, so gear challenges and daily activities were all adjusted previously in the first phase.
The other thing I think it's worth noting is that they specifically called out that where some of these changes are, it's not just to rank up characters, it's to get the journey guide characters in people's hands faster.
Yes. Yeah, they did say that.
Well. And if like think about I mentioned on the show, my friend who's new to the game, he's asking me what he wants to do and or where he should go for next. And he'll get CLS early because he's easy to unlock, and he's asking me like, well, does this character work? Does this character? I'm like, well, no, you really want Chewbacca and C-3PO and Raid. Those are 3 characters that are not easy to get for someone who's early in the game, because for Chewie, I need a bounty hunter squad. For 3PO, I need an Ewok squad. And no one in their right mind wants to put resources into those. Well, now if gear is just falling out of your pocket, it just makes it that much easier to get those characters built up so that you can go get the good characters and start competing in these later game functions.
Like that's an important thing to highlight, which I haven't seen anyone say this as like a reminder. Like, yes, the gear farm, the drops and all that are changing. And yes, the relic bit is changing in terms of the crafting there. The actual recipe on the characters, though, is not.
Yeah.
So that is something to keep in mind. If it wants 50 of these and you're getting them twice as fast, that's fantastic news. Yeah, so just to keep that in mind as I
Could you imagine, 5 years ago when we were hitting the original Rancor and you just needed like a fusion furnace to get a character from 9 to 10, and you got 2 full fusion furnaces as well as other salvage, like that would have blown your mind to get that. And now that's a legitimate potential drop.
Right.
That's great.
Right. Yeah, this is gonna be great. So they do have on the road ahead post, they have a spoiler that you can show that shows you the gear that's not affected. So gear that's not going to double. So you can go look at it if you want to double check, but there is a ton here. A lot of it is Mark 12 that's not going to double. And then obviously the Kairos, the injector, salvage for the finishing pieces. And then there are a few that are a bit of a crunch, but other than that, the rest of it will double.
Yeah, like it's funny, like the Mark 6 Carbanes that I still every morning when I go through the stores, I get excited because I think it's Mark 3s, but
yeah, me too.
They're not, well, they're still purple. When you need them, but they're not needed a lot. Like, so some of these they're not heavily used. It's funny the injectors are on there, and again, I think when they dropped the Gear 12 finishers, and everyone thought it was going to be so hard to get a hold of those, and now everyone has like 7,000 of them in their inventory, and you can't salvage them for anything. So,
yeah, exactly. So the whole list is on there if you want to go through it and double check, but it lets you know what you have now if you are going to convert it, what to convert basically, because the rest will stay the same. Yep. So theoretically, and they didn't outright say this, but I'm going to draw the line, and I shouldn't, but I'm going to draw the line and make this conclusion from point A to point B for CG. Theoretically, if the gear that is in this spoiler list is not affected, I would assume that their conversion rate would not be affected at the relic scavenger.
So, okay, I would as well.
Right?
But we both know.
I know.
That if that's not what we see, the internet's going to break from the number of people typing, CG, you just threw away all of your goodwill from the road ahead because of this.
Yes. Yes.
I mean,
I'm saying it now, and hopefully CG has thought of that. And, you know, the next time Meathead is in the event server, I'm just gonna maybe I'll ping him for clarification. But that is how I am reading it and the line that I'm drawing. Savitar, get the screenshots now to compare later. So maybe screenshot this list of gear not affected and compare your relic conversion rates, because this is I would assume that they won't be affected, but
so I know podcast is not with a live chat, you know, explaining this but as Savitar made the comment back around the question and then kind of corrected us in chat around that piece, and the response in there was, you didn't anticipate my question. So this is one of these, like, someone needs to talk to CG. You need to anticipate this question.
Yes.
Like, this is something you should be ready for because it's coming. So
yeah, exactly. So you need to have thought this through. And hopefully they did. I'm being naively optimistic, but hopefully they did. So, okay. So when are all these changes happening? They'll be made alongside the new territory battle in December. So like I said, December 12th is when that's supposed to happen. Factor in all of those content updates and buffer zones like Molpoki said. So maybe give yourself a December 5th cutoff. And hopefully it is a nice change.
I think it's going to be great. I think that people are going to be very pleasantly surprised.
So, and this is also kind of how I'm reading into this, just gear changes overall, because we've had phase 1, which affected some bits of gear and affected the challenges and all of that kind of stuff. And they talked about tweaking territory battle rewards and everything like that. And now we've had they've announced what phase 2 is going to be. So we've got that now, and they've said specifically that it's about gear below gear 12 pieces. It's about getting through that initial hurdle. I would think that if there is a phase 3, and I would hope there's a phase 3, that would be addressing the gear 12 hurdle.
And I think, look, if we're going to be, I think if we want to have a fair conversation around the gear piece, I think that they handled this the right way. Is that they made changes to phase 1 and they took a period of time to understand what the impact of what that was to the economy. Because this is one of these cases that you could always do more. But if we remember back to the 5 refreshes versus the 8 refreshes piece, you can't ever go backwards.
No.
That was one of the, I know why CG did it, but from a community feeling standpoint, that step back from 5 or from 8 to 5 was a terrible thing that they had to fight through. So
and it used to be 3.
Yeah.
That's the other side of it, right?
But so put this change in, monitor it for 6 months, monitor it for 8 months, and then make another determination of what you're going to do moving forward. And I think it's been about a year. I think that the Gear 1 stuff was about a year ago. So give it another year, and then let's revisit this, in 12 months and figure out where. Now, I know everyone would love to see it faster. I would as well. But let's do the right thing so that we don't have to fight through, hey, we were over aggressive with the changes we made and now we need to dial it back, or they put some other ridiculous insane gear sync to kind of get these pieces out as well. So
that's a really good point, and it's got to be a little bit of patience on our end, which I know. I mean, I'm the most impatient person alive. It's a challenge, so I can totally understand that, but I agree. And we saw this also with Conquest, right? Like they started Conquest, and then they changed it, and a lot of people didn't like the change because it was harder and it was more grindy and whatnot. And it's the same thing where they didn't necessarily dial it back. They ramped it up, and it was after it was so. It's the same idea. You want to do the opposite of the effect that you want, so that you can tweak it. But yeah, it's going to be. I think this will be interesting. I think overall this was a good decision on their part.
I do too. I think it's great. So
okay, okay, Doc Aphra.
So I'm excited. We kind of, as we're coming up with a name for this, it's like, what do you complain about? Mm-hmm. This is such a minor complaint. I was disappointed we didn't get Sanastaros today because I'm just ready for that next step to go in, and I was really hoping we were going to get her kit. Mm-hmm. But again, they gave us a little bit of a sneak peek. I'm excited. I'm still excited. I need more omicrons because I want to now put them on the droids.
Right.
So again, high level. She worked with a lot of droids. She's going to get a summonable droid in her kit. I think that's pretty cool. Like, I think that's we've got we got a 6-man team on that side, or we've got a 5-person team for Grand Arena. They said she will have an omicron that will be built around Grand Arena, and it will be geared for 5v5. Mm-hmm. So the droids are great in 3v3. She'll be great in 5v5, and she said that they're designed. Those 3 are going to be the core of something.
Yeah.
And if you remember in Trip Zero's kit, mm-hmm. it says that it gives advantage to other dark side droids, which her summon ally should get advantages for that as well.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yep. But it's I guess I wonder when we're going to see her. I would imagine she's going to come in with the title update.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to guess. I mean, if it's not, it feels weird to have it be next week, but.
So if we look at the release cadence,
which is just all over the place.
It is, but it isn't. So this should be a character release week. Mm-hmm. We didn't get a character this week. I know 2 weeks ago we didn't get a character, but it made sense that we didn't because they gave us 2 at the same time, which should have been character, and then here. Selfishly, I don't want them to release a character next week and change the cadence over to the off HNN week.
Yeah.
Because it's always best for us when they release it right before HNN. Mm-hmm. Like, let's call it what it is. But I don't want to listen to the backlash of if they drop Aphra as part of the title update mm-hmm. on the 7th, and they release Sanastaros on the 7th, and then it's CG did it again. You released a gated character that the character wasn't even farmable, but you released her and it wasn't even there.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
I mean, so for Star Killer, I think it was it Mara that was the last one released?
Yeah, I think so.
And I think she was I think the event happened before she was farmable. I think.
Okay.
I could be.
I think the event was, but I think she had been out for a couple. I think she at least had hit shipments when the event came out.
Yeah, I think so too. And I can't remember off the top of my head, to be totally honest. But I'm pretty sure the event started without her being, free to play farmable, so to speak. But I mean, the good thing is, and they said this, it's going to be like Star Killer. It's going to be in the journey guide right away all the time.
Yep.
So it's not going to be like the Inquisitor event where it comes and goes. So worth noting.
So you have to. So what's going to be interesting with the team is, so Staros will likely be light side.
Right.
She worked with the rebellion, even though she was closer to a smuggler, but she was more light than Aphra, which was a little bit more dark side based. So, yeah, it makes sense that Aphra is going to go to the middle section of territory battles, because everything has to come back to territory battles. That 5th spot, though, on the team, I don't know what it's going to be.
No.
And I've yet to see anything that leads me to believe it's Hondo.
Right.
I don't know what Hondo does. Like, I get his kit, but I don't know where he fits.
Yeah, I don't know where he fits either.
So, maybe we get a profit mechanic on Aphra as well, and that's maybe what ties it together. But that 5th slot seems really, really interesting as to what they're going to do.
I wonder if it's going to be flexible based off what game mode you're in, who you'll want there.
Possible.
Yeah.
I would be really interested to see if it's Karsantan.
Yeah.
His spot, and then because we've got that omicron for Gamorrean Guard, who's Hutt Cartel and can slide into the Jabba team on that side.
Right, for Chibi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they've done that before, where they've made a kit change to an existing character that they always had planned on being there. They just didn't want to give away what was gonna.
Right, what it was gonna happen.
So, yeah.
Molpokey did check, by the way, so appreciate that. Mara was released December 9th, 2021, and Starkiller came out a week later.
Okay. So how would that, if we expect a title update
on the 7th,
would we get Staros next week?
Maybe.
It's possible.
Yeah, I think it would have to be either next week or on the 30th. Well, I guess that would be, we would get the content update on the 30th, and the event would start on the 1st.
No, that's right, because I'm forgetting the 7th would be 2. If they did it on the 30th, that would keep their existing release cadence.
Yep.
And then, yeah, I think that would work out. So, again, that's what's best for HNN.
And that's how CG should run things.
That's what's best for the game.
Right.
What's best for HNN.
Yeah, so they didn't really, we didn't get a kit or anything like that. They just kind of teased her, teased the omicrons and all of that. So it's going to be interesting. And yeah, that will come out sometime before Christmas.
Yep.
And then they just did user interface improvements for territory battles.
I'll be honest. Did anyone really even read that?
This really only matters. I don't even know if it really matters to everyone. It probably only matters if you're an officer.
Yeah. Look, I appreciate that CG understands our audience and put it all the way at the bottom, where everyone that was tired of reading of it, can just stop at that point. So
yeah, exactly. So I didn't see any hints that stuck out to me in this post, though. Anything that could tease what was coming. Which makes me a little bit sad. But that's fine.
Look, there's an incredible amount of information in this post.
Yes, this was a lot.
It was incredibly well written and incredibly detailed, without leaving a lot of room for questions. It kind of filled in the answers.
Mm-hmm.
I did realize, though, who posted this one as opposed to the other updates.
I did notice that as well.
So
I did notice that.
Yeah. But that was a road ahead. There's a lot there.
That was a lot. Oh man. And I feel like that was our that was our everything. That was our That's No Moon. That was the news.
Yeah.
I don't even know if we have a bantha in the room this week because I don't really have anything negative to say.
It snowed today. That's my negative.
Mine too. Boo, snow.
Yeah.
Dislike. I mean, what was your I love you? I know the roadhead.
It was look there. It's an exciting time to be playing this game.
It is
exciting time to jump into it, and territory battle will not be released without bumps in the road. We know that that's going to be the case. But again, I think a 2-week cycle kind of fixes a lot of that problem, so we're not having to wait an entire month for it to get there. And I think this will be pretty exciting. So
yeah. Okay, so let's just skip. Do we want to just skip to Discord corner?
Yeah, let's get on Discord. Yeah, because we've actually got a lot of questions this week.
Yeah, there are a ton. Okay. So Vox and King put a ton of questions into our server when I was like, hey, don't forget to throw your questions in here. But I think they're all pretty good. So
yeah.
Sarah, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you like the new TV format? I'm assuming he means the like modular setup and the light side,
sure.
Dark side. On paper, like theoretically, I like it a lot right now. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I like that we get to do it twice a month because I was a little bit concerned that that it would only be once. So I do like that. And I like that they're going to be able to expand it as necessary. It's future proofed. So
yeah.
What do you project as a legit star goal for the first run? Yikes.
All of them?
I was going to say 12. This is the thing, is we don't know how many stars there are. Yeah. And we also don't know how many points are going to be needed to get those stars.
So I think the answer to that question is, where's the reward break even point?
Yes.
From what we were doing in the previous one, because that's the legitimate goal.
Well, and that's kind of related to his next question, is how will these new rewards compare to the current territory battle rewards? I need to know what the break even point is.
Yeah.
I need to see the rewards so that I can say logically, if you are getting 33 in Dark Side Geo and I don't remember what we get in Light Side, 32, 33.
Yeah, I think we're 30.
I think we're 33.
Yeah.
If you're getting those reward boxes, what is the equivalent of those rewards in the new territory battle? Because it's going to be lower.
I think a legitimate, I think a fair legitimate goal at minimum is averaging 1 star per zone.
Right.
Through all 6 phases.
Right.
Which would be 18.
Yeah, if it is going to be 3 stars per track for 6 phases. No, wait, sorry. 3 stars per track. So if you go 9, what's 9 times 6?
9 times 6 is
54.
Yeah.
I did the trick. So that seems high. 54 seems high for a max shard count.
Well,
or max star count, sorry.
But keep in mind, it was not in like in Hoth, it was 48, and it wasn't 3 per way because the first 2 were only 2, and then it was less shards in Geo because there was only 4 phases.
Right.
So it was 9 shards per phase, but only 4 phases, which got us to 36.
Right. I'm just double checking the light side Geo nodes again. So the first time we ran light side Geo, or the first time we ran it that I tracked it for ODB, I should clarify, is December 2019. We were 240 million GP and we got 12 stars.
Okay.
So, which is kind of what I was thinking mentally. I was like,
it was about a third of the
a
stars.
third of the stars. So I think for your first run, if you can expect a third of the total stars,
Yeah.
You're going to be off to a good start based off past.
And then I think probably what will happen is in 3 months, everyone will kind of figure out, like, it's, as much as I hate this, we're going to be back in. I know Sergi used to complain about this all the time, but if we platoon, but we don't fight in this phase, and then, so you can start, 12 turns into 18 really quickly because we're intelligently using the points. But I think that a third of the way is probably the target for the first.
Yeah, I think so too. So whatever the max ends up being.
Yep.
What do you think Aphra will gate?
I don't think she will.
I don't think she will either. I don't think because I'm thinking Starkiller didn't gate anything.
No, I think that she will make it easier. Mm-hmm. It is the way to look at it. She'll Mon Mothma something, or actually, I think Watt's a great example of it. Is that Watt didn't actually gate anything in the territory battles outside of he had like the one mission, but once you got him, it just made it so much easier,
right,
to do certain things,
right. Yeah, I think that's
that kind of has the cascading effect across the board. So
yeah, I think we're gonna see that for a few characters, and she'll be one of them. And if her event starts right when TB is starting, then you're gonna have her for the some people. I'm not gonna say you, because obviously not everyone will, but some people will have her right for that second run.
So let me ask you off of that. What are your thoughts about this? Is really a 12-month run for the territory battle, and then they're going to flush all the characters and all the missions and do something different.
Oh man. So my immediate thought on that is, what do you do with the reward characters? Like, what do you do with third sister?
Yeah.
And I feel like you have to keep some of those in there, especially like they flat out said they want to increase the gear so that new players can catch up, so that they're getting those rewards in Hoth and GeoTB so that they can do the new TB sooner.
Yeah.
They're going to be behind, right, if you're not doing that right away. And if that's the case, like...
So even if... So let's say that you're perfectly awesome and you can get 50 shards of Reba twice a month, so 100 shards. So minimum, it's going to take you 3-4 months to get to unlock her.
Mm-hmm.
Is 12 months enough time to get the community through? Maybe, God, I'd hate for them to have to build a catch-up mechanic for that, with what they're doing.
I feel like that's setting themselves up for more work.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they want to do that. I don't know if they want to set themselves up to be revamping this constantly.
I just, you were throwing around the date 2019.
Mm-hmm.
3 years is entirely too long.
Oh yeah, way too long. We were way overdue for this.
Yeah. I wonder when the refresh is going to happen, but I think it needs to happen more than, and I think 2 years is too long probably as well.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people will have the characters unlocked at that point, and now it's it'll be interesting.
Yeah. Hopefully the bonus zones will be what like makes up for that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's telling us we're each going to pick one omicron that we think is going to be a must-have for the TB, and yes, we're going to be held accountable. Do you want to go first? I'm trying to think of all the TB omicrons, but I think there's some obvious.
I will, but we were talking about this before the show. I think people need to be cautious right now.
Yes.
To make the assumption that the omicrons that we have are going to be meaningful in the next territory battle.
Right.
So be careful with that. That is, don't go spend your omicrons based off of what we tell you right here. So
Yeah. I'll be 100% transparent. I am not applying any TB omicrons until we get in there and see what's actually needed. Because exactly that. I don't want to apply the wrong one. It's too rare of a resource. Even one of our officers this week was talking to me about the Omega Omicron, and I was like, don't do it. Like, stop. Just chill. So who do you think, as of right now, if they do translate?
Yeah, I really like the Finn Omicron, and I like it because you can stick Galactic Legend Ray on that team, and she just ups the survivability a little bit until they can get things moving.
Right.
So I really like that.
Yeah, I think that will be a good one. I'm curious about Cassian's, because the Rogue One characters are heroes. It makes me think like you should have him there. But then I'm like, who does he? We don't know who he turns into. We don't know how any of that will work. I think we're gonna want Gam guards.
That's a really interesting one.
I think we might want that one, especially like if you have Jabba.
Yep. It'll be interesting what happens with the Aphra kit, and does that make?
Yeah.
You know, I think there's a lot of questions around that one, and because I don't see anyone applying that. It looks good, but it doesn't look like, oh, I'm going to do this because it's just like I put the Finn one on. It just ended up looking like a lot of fun.
Right, and I think that just completely goes back to what you were just saying about like, don't do it yet. Like just wait and see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, okay. And then do you think there will ever be another raid? We did get that raid Ami on. I think it was Boosh that got it. Yep. Is that like a precursor thing?
I don't.
I don't think so.
I don't want another raid.
And this is the other thing that I think a lot of people also need to remember. And this isn't a criticism, because it's very easy to get stuck. This happens to me all the time. It's very easy to get stuck in your bubble and get stuck in your, I don't want to say worldview, but like your view of the game, because that's where you are. Not everything that is released is meant for you.
Yeah.
So that raid Omicron, I think, is a good example. Not all Omicrons are meant for everybody. And that is a really great example of releasing something that smaller guilds that are having trouble could theoretically use, especially if they are pushing Jabba and his requirements as something you should be going after earlier. Then that is something that you don't necessarily need in the end game, but is helpful to others.
Yeah, I agree.
And
I also I did hear a great use of that Omicron for someone who wants to accelerate their gear to ensure that they're at the top of
great point.
HSTR. So I think it was
great point.
I can't remember who posted the video, but it was Burrito on a team with that Omicron in Boosh, and it was literally turn on auto on Sith and just go.
Yeah.
Like, and if you're still at that point that gear is meaningful, that's great, because again, it's a time save more than anything else.
And I mean, the other thing too is, especially with Omicrons, to keep in mind is everyone is getting them at roughly the same pace, because they're dropping in Galactic Challenges and they're dropping in Cantina for your signal data. So there are a lot of, smaller GP sized players that have all of these Omicrons that they're like, I don't know what to do with this, because they don't have the characters that were like, oh, you need 3 for Grand Inquisitor. You need they don't need that yet, because they don't have that yet. So a lot of those Omicrons can go elsewhere, which is why you also need to release Omicron abilities across the board. So yes. Okay, I think that's all of his questions.
Yes.
Okay. K-Tau Kenobi. Do you plan on giving all of your lower gear to the Jawa to salvage before they change the conversion rate? He just did it.
So I think we talked about this a little bit earlier. I am not going to, because I just don't want to put myself in a potential hole for something that I need.
Yeah.
I might feel differently if Aphra and Santa were released, so I could put them into the tool to see what gear I need. Mm-hmm. So I didn't accidentally spend it, but I'm too afraid of being in a situation that I'm behind the 8 ball when I want to get those characters ranked up. So
I have been scrapping my gear so often just for that lower relic material stuff that I feel like I don't have a lot to convert.
Yeah.
I kept these thresholds kind of like made up numbers in my brain, and I was like, oh, like I won't dip below 200, and then I was like, okay, I need to. I won't dip below 150, yeah. And now I'm like, I won't dip below 50. Like, I just keep throwing it in there because I can't keep up enough. So, I personally don't think I have a lot to convert anyway. That I don't know if it's going to really matter if I do or don't. I'll probably look at it and see. And if I do have a bunch that I'm like, you know what, if I have 500 Mark IV stun guns, I'll probably convert those. Like, but otherwise, if I just have like 50, I'm not gonna chase myself over that. Like, it's not gonna be worth my time personally. But that's just me. Ramius, will the Omega, this is what we were talking about, will the Omega Omicron make Cam a breeze? And I was not fighting, but urging him not to do it because I know he was getting trigger happy. Honestly, this Omicron is made for that mission.
It is.
So I'm not going to tell you to put it on, though, because especially now that we know this new TB is going to be twice a month, when are you going to... Realistically, in a guild that is doing this TB event twice, when are you going to be doing cam? If you're in a guild that is still doing cam, that is doing, the new TB during dark side and light side geo, maybe it's worthwhile.
So I don't think it's an interesting Omega. Or I'm sorry, Omicron, mm-hmm. The characters. It's an interesting Omicron, but I don't think it makes the cam mission easy mode mm-hmm. because there's so much nuance to that. Like it doesn't matter that, yes, she deals damage 5 times for all the characters that are there, or they get a whole bunch of health, and health is what makes you survive in that. It's, did I get a mistimed burn? Mm-hmm. that now impacts my team? Am I in a situation that I can't get through damage immunity because RNG just wasn't my friend in what happened in those cases? That there are just times that you're looking at it going, I don't even know what to do right now.
Yeah.
And I just I think it's a beautifully defined event. But there's a reason that these flowcharts exist.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
And if it's a flowchart, like an Omicron isn't going to just make that easy. Like, the only way that it was going to make it turn it into easy mode is Omega can shoot through damage immunity.
Right. Right. Exactly.
So I think they missed the mark there, and I just, that's another one I would be real hesitant to put a lot of faith in that it's going to translate over into the next territory map.
Yeah. And this is the thing, because I've seen people do this as well. As Bad Batch in particular, you want Omega, you don't want Shock or somebody else there. I've seen people do that, especially in our guild, because we do have 7-star cam across the board now, thankfully. Yep. So we're not streaming the mission anymore. We're still doing it for shard shop currency, but a lot of the time what happens is as soon as you take that requirement off, people forget and they're like, oh, I used shock. I guess I'll just throw someone else in with my bad batch. And some people have like managed to pull it off, but that's at over relic characters, swapping mods anyway, and clean runs. Because that's the thing, like as soon as it goes sideways, it's, if you don't know how to recover, like you said, that's why there's these flow charts. That's why I've had people message me before when they're going to be on vacation and they couldn't stream it when we were mandating the stream, just to give me a heads up. And I was like, no problem. And I would send them kind of my like mental workflow thoughts so that they could at least have that with them. I'm like, I'm not going to tell you to take time away from your vacation to stream it. This is what goes through my brain when I'm telling you what button to push. And it helps, right? Because you're now processing the information in a dumbed down sort of way. And a lot of people still don't know how to do that mission. Even with the flow charts, they don't. I talk to people all the time who don't understand what trampled does in that mission and why you can't hit Django. Like, and it's just basic, like, they either didn't ask the question or they didn't look into it or whatever it is, or they're new. It's their first time doing it. It doesn't matter, but it's these little things that are nuanced that you have to learn. And once it goes sideways, it's just a pain.
Well, it's even the whole idea that you can't shoot Django, but if you don't do a lot of damage, you also shouldn't shoot the target you can hit.
Right.
Because like if you don't do more damage than he does back to you, it falls off. And it's just, there's so much nuance. And I just don't think that Omicron makes it easy mode.
Right. It's also, okay, you don't want to shoot Django because you can't damage Django. You can damage the Reek, and it's ARC Trooper's turn. So that sounds like a great idea, except the Reek maybe is really close to half health. You don't want to shoot the Reek.
Yeah.
You don't want to do that and have Django rocket him and kill him off. Like, it's these little things that kind of go through. So anyway, not to get sidetracked, and this is the other thing, is that Omicron looks pretty tailored to that mission. And this is kind of what I was saying to him in chat. I was like, why are you going to apply this Omicron? You might only get to use it once.
Because I have all of these resources that I want to spend, and it's burning a hole in my pocket, which I completely get. I'm holding 3 right now, and I want to put them on both of the droids because I found out that a character I haven't seen is going to get another Grand Arena Championship one. Like I get the want. It's just I'm
just concerned that it won't translate to the new TB, which is why I would advise waiting.
And what is not going to hold up well is in 6 months when it's Omega is the only secret to doing anything in this territory battle, and people were replying like, remember when you guys were like, yeah, don't do it, it's a terrible idea. How wrong were you? So that's we just know that's coming at this point. So
okay, I think I've been trying to like keep up with chat because I know people were throwing questions in there, and I feel like I have most definitely forgot some of them already because I forget everything now. Okay, Lion's Den asked, way up there, and I think this is interesting. Would you rather buy your crystals in the new web store or the in-game store?
We talked about this week.
We did talk about this week, and I thought you had a great point.
Yeah. Great point. So by way of background, I play on an Apple device, and I have a something through work where if I do a great job, someone can actually send me what amounts to funny money that I can convert into Apple gift cards. So I will buy crystals with Apple gift cards that way. And what I've found, like this is one of the gaps with their store, is that let's say I have a $50 Apple gift card. No, let's say I have a $40 Apple gift card, and I want to buy the 50 crystal vault.
Okay.
What happens is that it'll take the $40 off of the gift card and it will charge the difference to my credit card. So it costs me $10 out of pocket.
Right.
When you go to the store, the EA store, you can only supply one credit card for the purchase. So as an example this week where I found this out is I had a Visa gift card that someone had given me for my birthday, and I went to go buy $50 worth of crystals. Well, the problem is that $50 worth of crystals is actually like $53.75 when tax is added on.
Mm-hmm.
I was told that there was an insufficient balance on the credit card,
right,
or on the card, because it was a gift card that didn't have a balance, and I couldn't break it up into two payments.
Yeah.
So I had to use it in a different manner. That will be enough that there will be multiple situations that I will continue to buy them through the Apple Store or through the in-game, because being able to convert funny money into gift cards is it doesn't come out of my pocket. I think they need to fix that on the store.
Yeah.
They need to have a way for me to break that up. My son, I've got a 12-year-old son, for his birthday when he has his friends over, and what they get each other for birthday are like gift cards for Xbox, and one of them like the convenience store down the street, which is the best one ever because then they just go buy garbage. But like, there's a lot of people they use gift cards for things. There's someone in our guild that gets gift cards for doing surveys, and then he turns into crystals and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Those doors are closed.
Exactly.
In the EA store side. So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that is, that's a really good point. And that also factors in, like, if you do get a Visa gift card, like you said, now you can't use it. So.
And trust me, I spent way too long trying to figure out the mental gymnastics to make it work, and I just couldn't. So in the long run, I had to give up on the 5% of the crystals. This was a comment you made back to me. It's like, look, they're trying to get people to go through their store because they make more money in the long run. Make it easier for me to give you more money is kind of the way that it looks from that side. So
yeah.
And again, that's not a CG problem. That's an EA problem. And I'm assuming that's probably an issue across the board with EA of how people kind of manage those things. So
yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. Okay. You had a special question.
I did. So my special question is, and I put it in here. So what are you gonna do with your free Zeta you get next week?
So I thought about this, and I think I'm gonna give it to Hermit Yoda.
Okay.
And I'm gonna give it to him on his I can't remember which one it is. I should look it up, but it's the one where when an ally dies, he gets 100% turn meter again, and his cooldowns are refreshed. And I'm solely doing this for Conquest because they fixed the Master's Training feat. So before it was you did 1 Master's Training and you got credit for 7. So they fixed that. It's going to be 1, and you're going to do that 50 times. So if you would like to cheese it, if you take in a summon that dies or zombie, they die, Hermit Yoda gets his bonus turn, gives it back to them. They die, Hermit Yoda gets his bonus turn, gives it back. And you're just going to recycle over and like, because otherwise.
Or take Kit Fisto in because he's got like 7 hit points and he's going to just die regardless.
Right. And like as long as they come back, like Jolie to revive them.
That's Well, and it's funny you said that because I didn't put that Zeta on for the longest time, and I just put it on because I had one to burn. But Jolie and Hermit Yoda are typically on the same team, or again, depending on like Hermit Yoda is either with like Revan, so if you can get Master's Training on someone and then Revan revives them because of that piece, it should give him another turn from that side.
Yeah.
There's a lot of cases where that kind of piles up from that side, but that's a great idea on the and again, it's 2 months worth of Conquest fights. So
and it's gonna be a Zeta worthwhile down the road anyway, in my opinion. I just never got around to doing it, so that's fine. I think the strongest option is going to be to use it with zombie. If you're speaking specifically about Conquest, Because zombie's gonna die. You're gonna give it back. She's gonna revive anyway. She's gonna taunt. She's gonna die. Yeah. So
I spent mine already today.
You spent yours
because I knew it was coming. Because I knew it was coming, so I spent it. I'm trying to sit where I'm at, and I'll share that at the end. So we're
you're not gonna tell me yet.
Nope.
Okay, fair enough.
Although I think we go right into the next section. So yeah.
Okay. The rank and file. We want to look at the meta report for.
Do we want to look at the meta report today, or?
I guess we don't need to because it wouldn't have changed from last week.
Yeah.
Or last time. Yeah. So we can go into Uncle Owen's moisture farm.
Yep.
Because let's talk about what we're currently farming in game, because everyone knows work comes before going to Tashi Station to pick up power converters. So Pico, do you want to go first?
I'll go first because mine's going to be short because you've had a lot of progress this week, I think.
Oh man, I did.
So all right, I am in the middle of operation all the Zetas. So I dropped 2 today, and I didn't do this one, and this is my bonus one. I didn't do it because of the announcement. I did it because it was the last 2 rebels that needed Zetas. So I put a Zeta on Rollo, and I put a Zeta on Bodhi today. So Bodhi is now is a Zeta, but I am now down to that's 3, 6, 9. I need 11 Zetas to finish off this project.
That is crazy.
But it is, I mean, listen to some of the names on the list. Young Lando, Night Sister Initiate, Clone Wars Chewbacca, Krennic, Lumi, Embo's Leader, which I've never used once, Cody, Death Trooper, Scav Ray's Days, Gar Saxon, which I think is going to be good in territory battles.
Yeah, I think so.
I think it's going to be good. And then Aura Singh's, Sniper Topple 1. They're just that's a murderer's row of hot garbage there. So
and they're all gonna get one.
They're all gonna get one.
Oh, man.
It's gonna happen. So I still have when it drops next week, I'll have 3 still saved for what goes next. So that was my time this week.
Yeah, that's gonna be good. That's gonna be real good. So like I mentioned earlier, all I've been doing is farming the gear for Grand Inquisitor so that when he comes back, which by the way, if no one has seen this, it is in game. There's a countdown going. It's going to be December 24th when it launches.
And it'll run through the 30th. They said so you don't have to take time away from your family to do this on the holidays unless you want to take time away from your family.
Right.
But so yeah, you'll have a window during that week between Christmas and New Year's to do it. So
right. So I was farming his gear, and then I finished farming Chrysanthemum because I was doing solely him in Cantina, and it was just to get his shards done, and it was extremely painful. And I just got so frustrated. I was like, you know what? It wasn't even the signal data really that was frustrating me that I wasn't farming. It was that I wasn't getting Omicron mats to drop because I wasn't farming signal data. And I feel so behind in what I'm doing with Omicrons that I was like, I need to be able to get back to this to at least have the chance of them dropping. And I was like, all right, well, here's 4,000 crystals to the weekly store. And I took 50 chrysanthemum shards, and then I just needed 2. And I'm like, fine, thank you. So he is done. And then, now I'm just like, I'm still farming Leia and Skiff Lando. I'm like, do I start picking up the pace on them? Am I going to pivot? I think I'm going to pivot.
I think you pivoted. You just refuse to admit that it's happened.
I know. Because I haven't, I think I am going to go all in on this Jabba farm and just, man.
So like rules of thumb are general guidance, not written in stone.
I know.
So you can still hold that pivot rule, and I think it's still true in those cases. But I don't know.
The fact that I'm so even on them is really killing me too. Because if I was way ahead on one, it would be a totally different story. But I'm not.
watch what's going to happen. They're going to drop this gear change, and all of a sudden, it's going to be like a floodgate opens, and you're like, so I'm now ready to do Vader and Jabba at the same time.
Right.
Like, how do I
do this? It'll be the Gear 12 and the not accelerated gear pieces that are gonna crunch me, but that's fine. At least I know what to buy in the stores. So I think that's what I do. Man, all right, fine.
Well, and then again, you roll into the other Galactic Legend after that, and then you're caught up by Galactic Legends now.
Yeah, that's the thing.
And I think the other piece, and we've talked about this before, and as people, if you're here thinking about kind of where you're farming, keep in mind we still have 2 more months of not needing to get ready for a character coming out of Conquest that we need gear on top of, which is great. And don't forget, we're going to get stuff dropped at the midpoint of December, and we're not going to see something new in the game until February 1st.
Right.
So you're going to have a big window in there to get some things done. And, we've got the assault battles where a bunch of gear and shards and all of that stuff are, the bonus assault battles in the back half of December, that's going to come in as well.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a couple of cool catch-up mechanics that are going to happen over the next, 6 weeks or so to help people on that side. So I think a lot of people like February 1st, like, man, I made a lot of progress in the last couple of months.
Yeah. Yeah, that's oh man, it's just, I feel so awful because I think this is going to be like the 3rd or 4th time that I've been like, yeah, I'm going for Lord Vader. And then like, no, I'm not. Just kidding, Anakin. You can sit there and rot some more. Yeah. Do you have any other points, thoughts?
The murdered bots are close, and it's a good road ahead.
It is a good road ahead. This is great news. So I'm more excited now. I was really hoping the road ahead was going to be good, and I thought it was.
So one last thing before we sign off.
Yeah.
This is a little bit of a preview. We're going to actually have a pretty big announcement coming up in 2 weeks.
Yes.
We're going to try something in 2023 that we're hoping we're going to get the community to come along with us on. But we need a couple of weeks to kind of get some information together to kind of frame it up. But please look forward to that. We're really, really excited about this. I think it's going to be, this works out the way that I want it to be. I think it's going to be really great. And I think it's going to be a huge differentiator for the HNN community.
Mm-hmm.
So keep your ear to the ground for that. Expect to see some things on Discord probably the day before, and then we'll kind of roll in and talk about it in the next episode. So
yeah,
looking forward to that.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about this. So that means everyone just has to listen to the next episode.
Yeah. Tune in next week or in 2 weeks.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I think that is everything. So thanks everyone for joining us, listening, or hanging out on YouTube or wherever, everything. And that ought to do it. So until next time, Chewie, we're home.